Bilawal Bhutto, Pakistan's foreign minister, is saying salam from Goa, but what else he says could determine what happens next to India-Pakistan relations, with that shadow hanging long over the SCO Foreign Ministers Meet taking place currently in Goa. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. Welcome to this special broadcast as we look at what might be taking place behind closed doors at what is meant to be a multilateral forum, where much of the media attention, however, has been focused on the first visit by a Pakistan foreign minister to India in 12 years. The choice of Mr. Bhutto, who earlier had used the choicest personal abusive language for the Prime Minister, is intriguing. Remember, the Defense Ministry of Pakistan took part in this forum virtually. Why did Mr. Bhutto choose not to do the same? And would he feel the need to play to the gallery back home in Pakistan? Mr. Bhutto was received by the Joint Secretary in the Foreign Affairs Ministry, a polite handshake, a sort of stiff photo op, but he has released several video messages of his own, including referencing the fact that he's planning to do a couple of interviews and he will be attending a dinner, which of course is India as the host country will be hosting. What will happen when Foreign Minister Jaishankar comes face to face with Pakistan's foreign minister, given the war of words that is taking place earlier? Remember, all of this is happening at a time when there has been a recent terror attack in Poonch, where our soldiers have been burnt alive and a Jaish-e-Mohammed affiliate has taken responsibility for that terror attack. And this forum is also taking place at a time when there is great domestic turmoil in Pakistan. In fact, just today, Imran Khan, appearing dramatically in a wheelchair, has lashed out at an ISI general he claims is trying to kill him. A lot to unpack here on this program. Let's introduce our distinguished guests, our experts today. Seema Sirohi is with us. Welcome, Seema. Seema is, of course, one of the foremost journalists on foreign policy, and recently has a book out as well. It's great to see you, Seema. Also joining us is Wajahat Khan. Wajahat Khan is one of Pakistan's best-known journalists, often sets the cat among the pigeons in his own country with his blunt takes on contemporary politics. Also joining us is military veteran General Atta Hasnain, out with a very interesting article on the SCO forum just earlier today, former General Officer Commanding of the 15th Corps. And also joining us is military veteran and strategic affairs expert General Kulkarni, who's of course the former Director General of the Infantry. Before I start with all of you, I want to just play out the clips that Bilawal Bhutto has been releasing. Now, remember, technology means he doesn't actually have to hold an official press conference, unlike earlier India-Pakistan summits, and this is not one of them. You have Twitter, where you can just tape something and casually release it. It's been all shiny, shiny, happy, happy. In fact, Anodyne talking about how he's hopeful that the SCO forum will be a success. Listen in.
Assalamu alaikum. मैं बहुत खुश हूँ कि आज मैं यहाँ गोवा पहुँचा हूँ, शंघाई कॉर्पोरेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में शिरकत करना, पाकिस्तान के डेलीगेशन को लीड करना, और मैं उम्मीद रखता हूं कि इंशाल्लाह ताला जो हमारा SCO का CFM है वो बहुत ही कामयाब होगा। आप सबका बहुत शुक्रिया।
Okay, like I said, this is a very safe statement. If Mr. Bhutto plays to this script, things may go uneventfully, and in the India-Pakistan context, uneventful is always better than eventful. General Hussain, what are your expectations?
Frankly, Barkha, nothing very much. I'm not expecting, unless, of course, something unexpected happens. I'm reminded of UFA, 2015. UFA was against the run of play, as you say in cricket. It led to 6-7 months of détente with Mr. Modi's dash to Lahore, Mr. Doval's visit to Bangkok, and the late Sushma Swarajji's visit to Islamabad. All that happened against the run of play. It could happen again this time. But I don't think the circumstances are presenting themselves in that manner. There does not seem to be a rational, logical deduction that something different could happen. The way I'm looking at it is, Pakistan is in turbulence, inner turmoil, in turmoil in the interior way. And the foreign minister is no great leader. He is known and reputed to be what is called an intern foreign minister under the guidance of his deputy, who used to be once the foreign minister. I'm not trying to insult him in any way. I'm only just establishing the credentials with which he has come here. So expectations are nothing great. He may speak something out of turn. He has done it before in the United Nations. He's done it elsewhere. He has abused our prime minister, knowing fully well that an international figure as Mr. Modi, you abuse him, you're only going to get flack. So Mr. Bilawal Bhutto isn't known to be very rational in his approach. He may just, on Indian soil, he may just, as you just said, he need not even go to a media conference. He can just tweet out something awkward, which could actually draw a lot of attention. And attention is something which he is going to be seeking. Because you have to remember that in Pakistan, elections, well, whenever they take place, and everyone is looking for influence. The parties within the PDM are looking for influence. He is wanting to establish his own credentials there. So it's an interesting situation at the moment, but I am not expecting any great takeaways.
Now, you have referenced what's happening in Pakistan internally and that what kind of pressure that might actually put on Mr. Bhutto to feel the need to play to the gallery, to play to the deep state back home. All of this has taken place on a day when one of his main challengers, and remember the PTI, Imran Khan's party, has been criticizing on Twitter the decision, there's Fuad Chaudhry, the former information minister of Pakistan, of Mr. Bhutto to go to India. But Imran Khan appears dramatically in a wheelchair and talks about an ISI general's attempt to assassinate him. All of this is taking place on a day when Mr. Bhutto is in India. Listen in.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। 4 चीज़ों के ऊपर मैं बात करना चाहता हूँ। सबसे पहले कि जबकि मेरे पैर पे स्वेलिंग है, उसके बावजूद क्योंकि अदालत ने तलब किया है, मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि हम अपनी अदालतों का एहतराम करते हैं। जो ये दूसरे नहीं, जो कि सारा वक्त अगर फैसला इनके लिए ना आए तो ये हर किस्म का जलील हरकतें करते हैं, प्रोपेगेंडा करते हैं जजेस के ख़िलाफ़। दूसरी चीज़, मैंने 3 दिन पहले लाहौर हाई कोर्ट को मैंने वाज़े कहा है कि 2 दफ़ा मुझे कत्ल करने की कोशिश की है, ये जिसको हम डर्टी हैरी कहते हैं। एक दफ़ा वज़ीराबाद, उसकी JIT की जो सारी फाइंडिंग्स थी उनको इसकी वजह से सैबोटाज किया गया क्योंकि फाइंडिंग्स इसी की तरफ जानी थी। दूसरी दफ़ा 18 मार्च को जुडिशल कॉम्प्लेक्स में मुझे कत्ल करने की कोशिश की गई और अब मुराद सईद के ऊपर भी ये डर्टी हैरी की वजह से अब कह रहे हैं कि दहशतगर्द है, लेकिन ये पीछे होगा अगर मुराद सईद को कुछ हुआ। तो मैं ये वाज़े करना चाहता हूँ कि अगर मुझे कुछ हुआ, इसके पीछे ये होगा डर्टी हैरी और कोई दहशतगर्द नहीं, कोई और ये जो बताते हैं कि जी इनकी कोई बैरूनी एजेंसी से खतरा है, मुझे किसी से खतरा नहीं, मुझे इस आदमी से खतरा है और जो भी इसके साथ है। तीसरी चीज,
Dirty Harry here referencing wajahat to an ISI general. I can't not join the dots between Imran Khan's public statement against the ISI, or at least against a key ISI figure, and Bilawal Bhutto being in India. If you had to join the dots, how would you join them?
Good morning, Barka. Well, Dirty Harry is Major General Faisal Nasir. Imran Khan has coined that moniker for him since the attack, the assassination attempt rather, on him in late October. He's come out guns blazing. Faisal Nasir is, quick context for your watchers, he heads Pakistan's counterintelligence wing in the ISI, considered one of the most powerful generals in the military intelligence apparatus. Not a fan of Imran's, and Imran is clearly, as we saw, not a fan of his. But coming back to connecting the dots, I think I would connect it to, firstly, Bilawal Bhutto eating crow. The young foreign minister, Pakistan's youngest foreign minister, as we know, said what he said a few months ago. Not the most diplomatic words unbecoming, in my personal opinion. However, despite of that, I will also say that PM Modi's human rights record is also questionable. But this is not about Modi, this is about Bilawal, so we'll stick to the subject here. However, I think what I really wanted you to play, and I hope your producers can find it, is his tweet. He did a selfie video tweet earlier before the piece you showed, in which he spoke in Urdu and English. He was on his way to Goa, and he said something quite interesting, which is clear messaging for India. And that is that he said it in Urdu and English, but to paraphrase, he said, I'm looking forward to engaging bilaterally un mamalik ke saath jo organization ka hissa hain. So he said, we take the SCO seriously. My visit is about how seriously we take the SCO, etc. But then that was his message right in the end.
My producer tells me we have that clip. Can we just listen in and you can complete your thought? Let's listen.
Sure.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आज मैं गोवा भारत जा रहा हूँ, जहाँ मैं पाकिस्तान का डेलीगेशन को क़यादत कर रहा हूँ टू अटेंड द शंघाई कोऑपरेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस काउंसिल ऑफ फॉरेन मिनिस्टर्स। मेरा जाना ये वाज़ेह पैगाम भेजता है कि पाकिस्तान कितना अहमियत ये SCO को देता है और कितना सीरियसली अपना मेंबरशिप को भी लेता है। आई एम लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू एंगेजिंग बायलैटरली उन ममालिक के साथ जो इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का हिस्सा है। आपका शुक्रिया।
Very important, and I think a lot of people had actually missed that casual reference to I'm looking forward to engage bilaterally. Now, Wajahat, he's met with the Russians.
That's right.
He could be looking to make a point of meeting with the Chinese on Indian soil. The Chinese foreign minister heads to Pakistan right after
That's right.
This SCO summit. Is that looking forward to meeting bilaterally a reference to India, or is it
who else? Who else?
Is it anybody's guess?
Who else? Who else is he speaking to at this point? I mean, he could have said, "I'm looking forward to engaging," with everyone there. He could have. There's so many words he could have used, but he said bilaterally, and that is where, of course, the Indians come into focus. He's put the ball in their court. He's eating crow. Clearly he's here. Unlike the defense ministry, he's sort of looking like he's there with his hat in his hand, Barka. For me. And it looks like Pakistan needs this. See, SARC is dead. SARC is dead in the water. The SCO is really the only place regionally where the Pakistanis and the Indians can talk. And of course, the allies, the Chinese for the Pakistanis, the Russians for the Indians, can whisper in each other's ears for these two adversaries. But so Pakistan needs this. However, as we know, unofficially, they've been talking for a while. Track 2 is ongoing. The 2021 ceasefire is in place because of back-channel talks placed by the previous military regime run by General Bajwa. However, keep in mind that this is, as General Atta pointed out, this is not and as you did as well, this is not the best time in the Pakistani street to be engaging with India. There have been moments on the Pakistani street where engagement with India has been welcome. This is not that moment.
Let me also say it's not the best time in the Indian street to be engaging with Pakistan. And while you spoke about what you see as the human rights record of India, India would turn around and say a long litany apart from terrorism on what religious minorities and so on are experiencing in Pakistan. So this kind of fundamentally different way in which we see each other's countries is an endless debate. But let's talk about the opinion in India, General Kulkarni, in the context of Poonch. General Hasnain was with me on a program where he was among those who felt Mr. Bhutto should be disinvited. It was pointed out that as the host of the SCO, that was perhaps not possible. But General Kulkarni, in the light of what we saw happen in Poonch, and I'm going to play those pictures a little bit after you start speaking, what do you expect of this meeting? Or is the best thing we can hope for is that nothing happens? Just vanilla, bland, anodyne, 24 hours is the best outcome. General Kulkarni.
Thank you, Barka. What General Hasnain and both of them have said, I think, we should not expect anything from this visit. Notwithstanding that, I think it would be good for him because he's a young foreign minister, and whatever he has said, this is an opportunity that he gets to say sorry. And even if he does say sorry on the Indian soil and admits that, one of those things he should not have said, having come to Goa, he feels that there is warmth and there is quite a good feeling. Even having said that, probably he just might be able to break the ice should he just step forward, move around, now that there's a dinner tonight, probably interacts with the foreign minister and at least says it openly in front of at least 3-4 people. I'm sorry, sir, I should not have said what I've said. And I feel bad of what it is because it does spoil relations between the two countries. After all, Pakistan is our neighbor. There's nothing very much that we can do about it. So the least that one can, because especially when he comes from a family, obviously Pakistan is ruled, governed right now by, of course, the army. Secondly, there are just about 100-odd families that really rule Pakistan in their count, irrespective of who that be. And of course, the radical organizations for which everybody is affected, their army is affected, and so are these 100 families also affected. In that kind of a context, in the way Pakistan is known only to export terror, and Pakistan uses terror as an instrument of state policy, right time for this young foreign minister on the Indian soil to express to say sorry, break ice, and then move forward, and then walk the talk. That's very, very important for Pakistan, is to be able to walk the talk. If they don't walk the talk and keep doing what they are doing, because obviously, as I said, radical organizations, terrorist organizations have taken over Pakistan. If that be so, this is the right time to engage and openly when they are, and obviously with Rabbani's letter probably out, that noting of hers in which she has said very clearly it's time that to be closer to China, break away from America and things of those kind, whatever she meant and whatever she wrote out in the public. I think in that background also, it would be more appropriate because obviously Bilawal, has a history, has a legacy. The family is known in India well for whatever good, bad, indifferent. Is the time. I personally feel it's the right time. He's young. Well, he's there. That a grave mistake. He shouldn't have said what he said. It's demeaning. A boy who comes from Oxford, used to these kind of words, not expected at all. But right time now to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, and I hope the government of India accepts my apology. I think that's the way.
I mean, sir, you make absolutely great sense, but I don't think Bilawal is going to do anything of the kind. I could be wrong. Yet, Vajahat, very briefly, because I want to go to Seema, there is somebody in Pakistan who said to me, he's come because he wants to make, who doesn't want to make history? Where is the opportunity to make history? Yet General Kulkarni says, if he were only to say, my choice of language was unfortunate, I got carried away. You think any scope for that?
I'm not sure, because I think if a Pakistani foreign minister apologizes in public, I think that's the end of that story. See, Bilawal represents quite a weak, quite unpopular government at this point. And the very fact that we left this on the Pakistani street, which is not very pro-India right now for several reasons, some of them related to Bilawal, some of them related to India. The Indian Prime Minister is back in the news because of the Pulwama narrative, which is also back in the news, at least in Pakistan, because of what the Pakistani press is calling the Pulwama leaks. You guys are hosting the G20 in Kashmir. The press has been up in arms. The Foreign Office hasn't had a response. Bilawal has nothing to say about that, nor does his Foreign Office. Imran Khan, as we saw earlier, is on him like a sniper 24/7. And of course, recently, Bilawal and his regime, as well as the military, which are his backers, have been are being held in disdain because of what are being called the Bajwa leaks, where back in 2019, as we've heard, General Bajwa, the former military chief, essentially admitted that the Pakistanis can't fight the Indians. Their tanks are rusted, the capacity has deteriorated, and that's that. Kashmir's lost, quote unquote, according to people inside that loop. So the Pakistanis aren't really backing this initiative right now. On top of that, if Bilawal comes in and says, I'm sorry, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm sorry, Mr. Foreign Minister, I love Goa, I love India, I'm really sorry about what I said, I don't see that that's going to go down well.
Well, let me put it to you like this. If he says only just this much, even if he doesn't apologize and he says, in response to questions that are asked on other issues, I'm here to discuss the SCO summit and I will not be taking any bilateral questions, I think even that would be a holding pattern that would at least stop the relationship from nosediving further. Now, before I come to Seema, you spoke about what former Pakistan Army Chief General Bajwa said at an off-record meeting with journalists, where he basically admitted or conceded that Pakistan was broke and that the Kashmir obsession needed to stop, that the asymmetric war could not be funded anymore. That has led to calls for court-martials by leading journalists in Pakistan. Seema, coming to you right after that, I just want to play out this clip of Hamid Mir and Naseem Zehra on this meeting where General Bajwa said, we're broke, we need to focus elsewhere.
उसमें बाजवा साहब आ गए अपना पूरा लॉ लश्कर लेके, उनको लेक्चर दिया कि ये वही लेक्चर था जो उन्होंने एक दफा आपके और मेरे सामने भी दिया था। याद है ना क्या लेक्चर था? टैंक चलने के काबिल नहीं है,
तो आप कह रहे हैं
की मूवमेंट के लिए मेरे पास डीजल नहीं है, ठीक है जी, इस तरह की बातें की थी ना।
नॉर्मली ऐसा आर्मी चीफ के कोर्ट मार्शल होना चाहिए, और मुझे अब कहना पड़ेगा, मैं अंदर कमरे में कहती रही हूँ, बट मुझे कहना पड़ेगा कि इस तरह नहीं होता।
20-25 सहाफियों को सामने बिठा के।
So Naseem Zehra is calling for the court-martial of former Pakistan Army Chief General Bajwa. Hang on, Vajad, Seema. All this domestic churn in Pakistan is relevant only for Indians to understand that Bilawal Bhutto will feel the pressure to say something outrageous, which will further nosedive the relations between India and Pakistan. On the other hand, even if he doesn't go as far as an apology, he could simply be mature enough to sidestep any direct questions. However, he has declared that he's doing 1 or 2 interviews. He's doing these interviews, as veteran diplomats like Vivek Karju have argued, no Indian journalist should actually give him time of day, given what he said about the Prime Minister and the words he chose to describe them. I'm smiling because there's so much chaos, because at this moment, Foreign Minister Jaishankar is hosting a dinner where one of the attendees is Bilawal Bhutto. Mr. Jaishankar can't avoid saying hello to Mr. Bhutto. It's not possible. So it's kind of chaotic. Seema.
Absolutely. So sitting in Washington, Pakistan looks like it's in deep turmoil, both domestically and internationally. Its foreign policy is flailing and it's trying to find a space, and it's not able to. So, the Imran Khan is after the coalition government. They cannot make peace with India. They cannot even make any overtures. So I don't think Bilawal will say anything that opens the door too wide, but he might, by not saying anything, create, some momentum for back channel talks. So remember that Pakistan has lost a lot of its foreign policy relevance in the Middle East, in the region, even in Central Asia. So it's really struggling. And the Americans are not paying Pakistan as much attention as it would like. So right now, it seems to me the SCO organization is for Bilawal the only kind of forum by which it can, endear himself to China. But China also lately has not been that helpful in trying to bail them out. So they really are struggling to find friends at a very difficult time in Pakistan's life.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It gives a kind of global geopolitical context to what's happening. Let me get the generals in. General Hasnain, it's not that India doesn't have its own border problems, grave problems with China. Rajnath Singh made it quite clear in a recent face-to-face with the Chinese. How concerned are we about the China-Pakistan Nexus? The suggestion has been made by some experts, though Seema says China is not being so helpful, that perhaps Bilawal is looking to make a point that he meets the Chinese bilaterally on Indian soil, and then the Chinese foreign minister heads right back to Pakistan on the 5th and 6th of May. General Hasnain.
See, Barkha, on the face of it, it may appear that China has cooled off to some extent as it regards Pakistan. We're not talking too much about, we're not hearing too much about aid and support and things like that. Even the China-Pakistan economic corridor seems to be cooling off. Now, all this, to my mind, is a facade. Actually, there is virtually a continuum between China and Pakistan, which is coming together. And I think Pakistan is trying to project again to China that the actions it has taken recently, like transporting tons of ammunition in containers to Ukraine, missiles, rockets, and artillery ammunition to Ukraine, is making up, it needs to make up for that with Russia and with the Chinese. This is an appropriate platform to do that kind of a thing. Pakistan has been kowtowing to both sides, to the United States also. Without kowtowing to the United States, the 1.2, 1.3 billion tranche of the IMF loan is not going to come their way. And lastly, on this issue, I have my suspicions. Who is really supporting Pakistan? Every time we talk about Pakistan in turbulence, economic turbulence, political turbulence, it is imploding, etc. But Pakistan is the world's greatest survivor. It survives everything. How does it survive? Who is bailing it out economically without
And what's your answer?
My answer to it is, well, there are sources, I don't want to name them, but there are sources all around who are doing this, who have their interest in making sure that Pakistan remains above water, its neck remains above water.
Yeah.
And it could be both China and the United States. I can't put my finger to which one and who is doing it. But definitely, Pakistan is a very, very important swing player in this entire new great game in the area of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Central Asia, We should not only focus on Ukraine, we should not only focus on the LAC, we should be focusing very greatly on the Eurasian landmass.
So, General Kulkarni referred to the Hina Rahmani letter not to sacrifice the partnership with China for the United States. Very interesting. And General Hasnain almost references or suggests that Pakistan's managing to carry a little bit of both the Chinese and the Americans along with them for survival. Before I come to General Kulkarni, Seema, the view from Washington, also on the SCO. Remember, India has taken a position on the Russians. That is not to the liking, right, of the Americans. India is, of course, a member of the Quad, but the SCO has the Russians and the Chinese, and India is walking this tightrope and managing to walk it. And I must mention that all of this comes as a sort of drone attack on the Kremlin. The Russians claim this is the Ukrainians deny it. Some are saying it's a false flag operation. Some are saying it's Russian separatist groups. We don't know. Seema, what's the view from Washington on the SCO?
So we know that Washington is not happy with India's very delicate dance on the war in Ukraine. There's greater understanding of India's position, but they're not pleased with it. I mean, especially on Capitol Hill. US lawmakers always point this out, that why can't India as a democracy stand with us? So that said, SCO as a forum for India was originally because it assumed that Russia would be the main actor. But now Russia is sort of playing second fiddle to China. The relevance of SCO for India is therefore that much reduced. India's focus is more on the Quad, on G20, etc. The Americans have never liked the fact that India is a member of SCO, but Indians have told the Americans always it's better to be inside the room than outside. And we don't want Russia and China to get closer. Well, the war has made that happen. Russia and China are closer. And India is probably going through the motions. I don't know how much more it can use SCO as a lever.
Yeah.
Maybe for Central Asia.
Yeah.
But then we don't have direct access to Central Asia.
I will tell you, there are Indian diplomats who argued that the SCO has done its time for India. It's time to actually exit and maybe align yourselves more directly with the Americans. I don't see Indian diplomacy. It's hardwired to never do that. General Kulkarni, I want to bring you in. Sorry, Wajahat, I'll come to you right after that. The military has long war-gamed a two-front war. The China-Pakistan axis is here. There are attempts to convert by the Chinese the LAC into the LOC, with one key difference that other than Galwan, we don't see guns actually being fired at the line of actual control. How concerned should we be about the China-Pakistan Nexus? Seema suggests the Chinese will not protect Pakistan after a point. Is that how you see it?
Barka, the nexus is very, very strong. There is no denying the fact that China would much like what they do use North Korea against Japan, and the way they use North Korea against Japan, they would use Pakistan against India. There is no denying the fact. But how for India, it's important that we balance this out. That's the way Pakistan had at one point of time. Everybody said it was Army, Allah, and America. Well, that America now seems to be in question. And America might get substituted by China or plus China. So, like what Jalhastan said, the greatest survivor. Pakistan knows how to manage itself, whether it wants to play a game wanting to show its relevance in South Asia or otherwise. Right now, China-Pakistan nexus is the most dangerous nexus. We have to handle it. And that's something which is very alarming. We have got to be very, very careful, because it is Pakistan which will, at the behest of China, would do whatever it is, whether it is terror or continue to keep LOC alive, and at the same time pressurize India by China whenever it feels that it's been cornered in the Indian Ocean. So every time China feels cornered in the Indian Ocean, or China feels India is getting closer to United States, or Japan or Australia or any of these, even with AUKUS, their feeling would step in. It would first initially use Pakistan against India and then subsequently itself make LAC active as much as it wants to. So the LAC thing is not going to go so soon. But notwithstanding from the statement that has emanated from the foreign minister of China now, that they would want peace and tranquility along the border, it's a good thing. And that peace and tranquility along the border, that initiative has to be taken by China. And right now, there can be nothing better than what we are asking for. Status quo ante April 2020. There is nothing. I think right now I feel that's an absolute win-win situation which the Chinese should be able to understand and be able to adhere to before Xi Jinping decides to visit India for the summit in July. That's how I look at it.
Right. Very, very, very interesting. And, I think we have to recognize that in the world of geopolitics, nothing is as it seems. And so you have to get at least a couple of layers beneath to find out what's happening. Wajad, before I bring you in, and I want to come back to India-Pakistan for a moment, but Bilawal Bhutto has revealed that he's going to do 1-2 interviews. So that anticipation ki aap chup baithenge, aap kuch nahi bolenge, that has already been busted. I just want to play that clip and get your thoughts on what he might say or what he might be under pressure to say.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम आखिर हम गोवा भारत पहुंचे हैं शंघाई कोऑपरेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के मौके पे मेरा सबसे पहले मुलाकात रूस का वज़ीर ख़ारजा से होगा फिर मैं उज़्बेकिस्तान का वज़ीर ख़ारजा से मिलूंगा उसके बाद हमारे सारे वज़ीर ख़ारजा जो मौजूद है उनके लिए खाना है जिसमें मैं जाऊंगा 1-2 इंटरव्यूज़ करूंगा वो आज का प्रोग्राम होगा.
So, of course, at this moment, apart from declaring those 2 interviews, and we'll see when those happen and with whom, he's at a dinner hosted by FM Jaishankar. Wajahat, those interviews are going to be critical, I think, in determining whether this passes off uneventfully and therefore, I would say with limited success, or he says something on Kashmir, he says something on the Prime Minister, he says something else that annoys the hell out of India.
I don't think so. I think he can hold his own. He punches above his weight with interviews. He's quite well trained media wise, Barka. So I'm not expecting any boo-boos there.
No, but he may not think it's a boo-boo. He may do it consciously and play to a gallery back home. He may not think it's a mistake.
True, but I think coming back to my earlier point, I think Pakistan likes the SCO. Pakistan needs the SCO. He has hinted at bilateral touch base. At least he's turning up at the FM dinner. But coming back to the point about the other players in the room and the whole point about Pakistan needing the SCO, maybe some people don't think India needs the SCO, but here's my case on why Pakistan needs the SCO. The whispers have been working. So with Russia, for example, the Pakistanis haven't just met today. The Bilawal has met Lavrov in the past as well. The Pakistanis have recently cut a massively unprecedented energy deal with the Russians. Pakistan is cash-strapped, energy-strapped, as we know. It's broke, but it's got a pretty economic deal with the Russians, despite of glaring pressure from the US, all because of Chinese intermediation and the good offices of the SCO. There are even talks, one hears, about Pakistan, the Pakistanis getting Russian weaponry, though that's not coming anytime soon because of Indian pressure. But coming back to the China-Pakistan axis, the SCO is just a part of that larger picture. Keep in mind, go back not too far, go back last week, the army chief was in Beijing, General Asim Munir, not for 1, but for 4 days. Right around the time he was there, the Chinese also spoke to Shehbaz Sharif, the prime minister. The Chinese premier spoke to him. CPAC is back online. The Chinese have not said it once, but 3 times that CPAC is now on its 10th year anniversary. And we should really start. The messaging is that you guys have been sort of sleeping on the ball. Let's get cracking on it. Let's roll this ball forward. Tomorrow, the Afghan foreign minister is going to be in Pakistan meeting the Chinese foreign minister, intermediated by Bilawal and company. So again, Pakistan is playing that pivotal role in engaging the Afghan Taliban, who nobody can talk to. In fact, nobody wants to talk to.
Well,
with good offices for China. And we all know, to both the good generals' points, Pakistani officers are embedded in key formations along the line of actual control with the Chinese military. Pakistani officers are embedded in the Central Chinese Military Commission. They conduct regular military exercises, special forces, air forces, along that border, and there is that threat, that two-front threat for India, which the Pakistanis are pretty cognizant of. And thus, because of that, the Indians would probably want to engage the Pakistanis, at least at the SCO level, if nowhere else. So I would say that's my bit on the access as well as the how the
Let me
SCO works.
let me bring in the generals. It's time to start taking last comments. General Hassan picked that up. The idea of embedded Pakistani officers in the Chinese positions at the LSE. That's quite a thought.
Mujahid Saab is quite right in what he's saying. I too have information. I mean, it's not confirmed information, but we are led to believe that yes, the Chinese have actually recruited a couple of experienced Pakistani officers, experienced on the line of control, who are manning positions all along the line of actual control, who are enjoying their facilities, and at the same time getting involved in probably wargaming. The Chinese do not understand the Indian mind so easily. The Pakistani, obviously, ethnically the same, understands the Indian mind very, very well. And that is why the Chinese have actually harnessed the thing from the Pakistanis to actually try and achieve something more. But having said that, I would like to also just interject on the issue of what Bilawal Bhutto may actually say in any of these conferences, which he's likely to address. To my mind, I look at it the way the Indian Army always does it. We will place ourselves in the boots of the person who we are assessing as. If I was Bilawal Bhutto, I would have come to Goa with a brief, with having been briefed thoroughly by the Foreign Office, after having met the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister himself spoke of peace with India some time back, if you remember, and within 6 hours, his office rejected the entire thing. There was a memo put out to say that, Article 370 and things like that. So Pakistan is known to talk hot and cold. They like to bring out peace at one end and ensure that they counter it at the other end. It keeps the temperatures going. That's exactly what Mr. Bilawal may do here. He may make a very, very brief mention of a passing mention of Kashmir. If he's as good as what Mujahid Saab says in handling the media, then he shouldn't be talking his mouth off. He should be just making a pointed reference, very, very brief reference to Kashmir, the K word, somewhere, enough to irritate the Indians and enough to send home a message within Pakistan. See, I did it. I irritated them, and I came back here winning the brownie points.
But surely, sir, Indians with all our experience will be expecting this, anticipating
Indians, from our side, this kind of a thing is not acceptable. Of course, someone
not accepting it, but expecting it.
Expecting it definitely. Definitely, we would be expecting it. And as I said, he may make it difficult for us to respond because the language may not be as virulent as what has been said in earlier times and things like that. He may, talk sweet things about the SCO and also say that since he's on Indian soil, he would like to reach out to the Indian leadership, some words like that, and mention Kashmir in the middle of it.
Well, for that, he would have to walk back Pakistan's position that they will not engage with India till the abrogation of 370 is reversed. That is the Pakistan official position. Not easy to walk back from that.
I agree with you, it's not easy to do.
Yeah, we have a couple of minutes left. General Kulkarni, before I give Seema the last word, please bring in your perspective.
Barka, I think the situation is indeed very, very grave, very dangerous. It's for all of us to sit down and talk. There is no denying the fact. But yes, keeping in mind the kind of situations that are there, our relations with China, our relations with Pakistan, our relations with Russia, our relation now with the Western world is totally different. And that's where everybody is looking at India as a rising star. And that's where we have countries where will be used, and Pakistan will be used by China to ensure that India does not rise. And how best, it suits Pakistan because Pakistan, as what General Hassan said, greatest survivor. It survives by these basic instincts to ensure it survives. And the army, Pakistan army, runs a business which is not less than $20 billion yearly. If that be the kind of turnover the Pakistan army has business, and these 100 families ruling Pakistan, and the radicalization in Pakistan, that's, almost about 200 million people, they themselves are fed up of what's going on in Pakistan. I think at this point of time, It is time for Pakistan to walk the talk. Important for China now to announce going back status quo ante April 2020, and that is the only way. Otherwise, I find things are going to be very difficult. If Pakistan is going to be playing proxy to China, then of course the things are not going to be as easy as we expect. Yeah, but
I just want to give Seema the last word with this thought that Pakistan's leverage, provided by geography over the Afghanistan situation, has long helped it keep the Americans interested. How long can that sustain? What's the view from Washington?
Well, the Americans don't want to jettison Pakistan for sure. If for nothing else, for the simple fact that it's a nuclear armed nation, right?
Yeah.
So the Americans are extremely concerned about that, given the radicalization and all the other factors. They would never want to break relations, and Pakistan plays to that very well because it keeps American hopes alive that we are not completely in China's camp, and keeps saying that they want to have good relations with the US, because being cut off from the US is also not a good prospect, right, for Pakistan. Whether it's the elite connections with the US, the open US society, the long history of good relations with the US, all that is still a factor in some part of the Pakistani establishment's mind. And same goes for the Americans. They don't want to abandon the Pakistanis completely. So in that sense, I don't think the Pakistanis will play ball in the sense of this two-front war that we, as India, are so afraid of that it could happen. I think I have more faith in Pakistani decision-making and watching out for their own long-term interests.
Yeah.
You won't want to play like be a puppet of China, declare war, because they will suffer more, because India will surely retaliate against them, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want to have more difficulties than they already do.
Well, and they have plenty difficulties, including absolute chaotic domestic turmoil, with no one knowing when the election in Pakistan may in fact be held. We'll have to leave it there. I will just say that I think it's been suggested that if nothing happens, General Kulkarni, you have an optimistic hope of an apology. I'll modify that to say, if nothing happens, if Bilawal Bhutto is able to sidestep questions by saying this is not the forum, this is not the moment, I've come here for a multilateral forum, I think the holding pattern can continue. But I think if Kashmir is referenced, I think if worse is said from an Indian perspective, we are then looking at the possible handshakes that have taken place at that dinner that is still taking place in Goa being dissipated. But let's see. We'll watch the space, as they say. General Kulkarni, General Hasnain, Wajad Khan, Seema Sirohi, thank you to our audience. Thank you. More on this in a few hours from now as more details come in. Thank you.
We started Mojo right here in this basement. Just 4 people, 4. And now we're about to hit our first 1 million subscribers. So this is to say thank you to all of you for your support, for your respect, and for your encouragement. We've always gone to where the story is. During the pandemic, when television's big anchors were hunkered down in their studios or at their homes, we hit the road. We traveled from Delhi to Kerala, covering 30,000 kilometers in a small car, reporting from inside ICUs and inside slum tenements. Whether it's flash floods or war zones, we've always put our boots on the ground. In fact, we're just back from Punjab, tailing the Khalistani fugitive Amritpal Singh. And through all of this, we have always put you, the people, first. In an age of partisan polarized media where most journalists are either chamcha ya morcha, we believe the story is sacred and the truth of the story is what matters. And now as we get ready for the next step, we need your help. Become a Mojo member and get first access to all our big interviews. Get a chance to ask our newsmakers questions. Get a chance to write and report for us for both our website and our channels. And also, interact with me and my colleagues directly through AMA sessions, literally ask me anything. Click on the join now right next to the subscribe button, and yes, also subscribe if you haven't yet, and become a Mojo member for just 159 rupees a month. Hope to see lots of you in our community.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.